Okay, so this summary is about the story of Candide, which is written by the author named Voltaire, who is an advocate for freedom of speech, religion, expression, a separation of church and state, civil liberties, and he is also a believer in reason over faith. So the setting of the story is the mid 18th century, I think in Europe and South America. The genre is satire, which is the use of humor, irony, and exaggeration to expose and criticize people's stupidity. So basically, like making fun of people. And the story of Voltaire is satirizing organized religion, politics and power, class hierarchies, um, optimism and intolerance. Um, the protagonist of the story is the main character, Candide. Um, so, Candide is the nephew of a German baron, and he grew up in the baron's castle where he meets Pangloss, which is Candide's very optimistic tutor. So, she's optimistic, which means she just has just a very positive outlook on life and the future. And she teaches Candide that everything is for the best, and that the world is like the best possible of all worlds. Um, so basically, the story starts off with the Baron taking Candide in his home, and then the Baron catches Pangloss and Candide kissing, and the Baron ends up kicking Candide out, and then he eventually travels to Holland, where he meets Jacques. So he takes Candide in when he finds him, and then Pangloss is there with Candide as well. And there, he finds out that he has syphilis. But Pangloss still seems to keep a positive outlook. Optimistic outlook on that. So Jacques also takes in Pangloss as well, and they travel to this place called Lisbon together. But before they arrive to Lisbon, they run into a storm on their ship, and Jacques drowns. So then it's just Candide and Pangloss. And when they arrive to the place they're going to, they find that it was destroyed by an earthquake. And then somehow Pangloss and Candide were punished. Pangloss was hanged and Candide was flogged or beat. Not to death though, he survives. Then an old woman comes and helps Candide and takes him to someone named Cunegonde. Candide and Cunegonde plan to marry each other. But when they flee to Buenos Aires, the governor proposes to Cunegonde, and she accepts the proposal just because of her financial situation. So she accepts that, and also the Baron is Cunegonde's sister. So Candide insists that they shall marry each other. And then, but when the Baron says no, which is Cunegonde's brother, Candide proceeds to kill him with his sword, and then runs off with Cacambo. Then later on, this is the interesting fact that I found kind of interesting in the story. Candide discovers that Pangloss and the Baron had survived their deaths, but Pangloss still remains optimistic about it. So Candide keeps his promise to marry Cunigande, but her brother still refused to let her marry a commoner, which is what Baron called Candide. And basically, at the end of the story, Candide, he comes across a farmer who seems to have a nice and simple life, and puts like all his time, energy, sweat, blood, tears into what he does, which is farming. And so Candide is interested in that, and then at the end, everyone is happy. So, like I said, an interesting fact was how Pangloss and the Baron had survived their deaths. Pangloss was supposed to be hanged, and Baron was killed by Candide with his sword. That's what I found interesting. What I also found interesting is how just Pangloss remains optimistic throughout the whole story, even she came back from her death and everything. Yeah, so I kind of like the story. I like how it has like a happy ending. It's like the genre said, it's a use of humor. It's a happy story in the end. So I didn't really dislike anything. I didn't disagree or dislike anything of the story. Just some more about the author. He was a deist, so that's a person that believes in a higher power. That this higher power created the world and then like stepped away from it. He rejected this biblical story of Adam and Eve. He rejected that and the fact that every race has its own origin, which makes him a polygenist. And like I said before, he's a believer in reason over faith. So that's it.